Devil's Pass. Dyatlov is a puzzling occasion that occurred in the Ural Mountains the evening of February 2, 1959 and brought about the demise of 9 climbers. Where the occurrence occurred is the Dyatlov Pass east of the Kholat Syakhl mountain. Kholat Syakhl signifies Demise Mountain in Mansi language. The name Dyatlov was given later concerning the head of the gathering, Igor Dyatlov. The tents of the skiers where they set up camp were viewed as destroyed from within. A portion of the casualties had taken off from something by running shoeless in the snow or even in their clothing. 2 of them had broken skulls, 2 had broken ribs, and 1 of them had a missing tongue. However, in spite of this, no hints of actual battle were viewed as on any of the bodies. Furthermore, unusual degrees of radiation follows were tracked down on the garments of the departed. As per the cases of certain family members of the dead, the bodies had the articles of clothing of the withdrew. According to the instances of specific relatives of the dead, the bodies had an orange-touched variety to their skin and a grayish variety to their hair. Official Soviet records ascribed the episode to the impact of an obscure power. The most widely recognized hypothesis is about the heavenly items emanating orange light that were seen by many individuals in the locale the evening of the occasion and before long. Another case is that the Soviet armed force was leading mystery military trials in the locale. How does a dead person appear in a photograph? The photo was taken in 1919 and distributed in a paper by Victor Goddard in 1975. Individuals in this photograph are the air group that served during the Second Great War. Nothing peculiar up until this point. In any case, it is basically impossible that one individual in the photograph was there when this photograph was taken. The explanation is that this individual kicked the bucket in the wake of stalling out in the propeller of the plane 2 days before the photograph was taken. Indeed, the 4th individual from the left in the back is, in all honesty, Freddie Jackson. At the point when others in this photograph saw this image, they effectively perceived Freddie and couldn't accept the obvious reality. Clearly Freddie needed to be in this gathering photograph. Mysterious Bridge. The Overtoun scaffold is the biggest extension in Scotland, situated close to Milton and worked in 1859. What makes this extension so popular is that unexplained occasions have occurred on this scaffold. This extension is renowned for canines leaping off it and ending it all. The principal occurrences were accounted for during the 1950s and 1960s. The primary episode happened when Collie, Lessie, breed canines out of nowhere hopped 15 meters from the highest point of the extension. At times, there were additionally canines that made do. Notwithstanding, these canines later moved onto this extension once more and kept on ending it all. Another point that makes this occasion much more fascinating is that every one of the canines that serious self-destruction by bouncing from that point generally hopped from a similar side and at a similar point. Notwithstanding, in 1994, a man lost his own child this scaffold. Then, at that point, he hopped himself. After this appalling occasion, bits of hearsay about the extension have expanded. Certain individuals imagine that this scaffold is the Surat span. Some pass, some fall, some never at any point stop by. Devil's Footprints. In Devon, Britain, the evening of December 8, 1855 and the accompanying 2 evenings, follows that didn't look like human impressions were seen on the snow. These impressions, 6 centimeters wide and 20 centimeters long, were left in a similar shape for 160 kilometers. From 12 p.m. until the morning, an undetectable impression went all through the city of Devon and left its impressions all over. Everybody pondered the proprietor of these impressions, yet nobody figured out how to see this obscure thing. Some accept that these impressions have a place with Satan. Okay, shoot. In the early morning long stretches of December 1, 1948, an unidentified body was found on the Somerton Ocean side in Adelaide, Australia. Despite the fact that it was summer, the body found was dressed comfortably, there were no labels on the garments, and despite the fact that it was found on the ocean front, its garments were extremely spotless. Because of the examination, it was perceived that he was harmed with an unsure substance because of the condition of his inside organs. What made the episode become a secret was the piece of paper with the word "Alright Shoot" found in a mystery pocket of the coat the man was wearing. Because of the promotion set in the papers, the book from which the paper was torn was found and it was discovered that the text was the last line of a sonnet by Omar Khayyam, signifying it is done, finished. The telephone number composed on the rear of the book had a place with a medical caretaker. The medical caretaker said she gave the book to a lieutenant named Alfred during the Second Great War. Alfred was found and, curiously, it was seen that the Taman Shud part of the book, which had the medical attendant's penmanship on the first page, had not been removed. The mystery of this anonymous cadaver has stayed a secret from that point onward. Tradition of resurrecting the dead. As per the voodoo confidence in West Africa, a dead individual can be restored by a magician and afterward constrained by that magician since the individual won't be cognizant. Zombies can move, eat, hear and talk like ordinary individuals, yet they have no memory and can't grasp their conditions. It was uncovered in 1937, during an examination directed by a specialist named Zora Neale Hurston on customs in Haiti. Hurston ran over gossip about Felicia Felix Tudor, who had passed on and been covered in 1907, at 29 years old, and started researching the case. Locals said that 30 years after her demise, they saw Felicia strolling on the streets in a bewildered way and with a couple of individuals close to her. Hurston sought after bits of hearsay that these individuals had been given strong medications, however could track down nobody able to give more data. Radio signal. As a feature of a review directed at Ohio State College in the USA on August 15, 1977, a restricted band radio transmission enduring 72 seconds was distinguished. The sign matched every one of the qualities anticipated from an extraterrestrial, even extrasolar framework. The justification for why it is called by this name is on the grounds that Doctor Who recognized the sign. Amazing is to compose the articulation. Amazing. The word just Doctor It was demonstrative of Jerry R. Amon's fervor and had nothing to do with the message contained in the sign. In any case, there was no message. So what did this 6/5 mean? The characters and numbers in the archive show the strength, or force, of the recorded sign. Holes in the recording represent the parts with the most unsignal power. Numbers 1 to 9 show expanding thickness. The more extreme a sign is, the nearer it gets to the worth 9. Assuming there are letters or potentially characters, this implies that the GOT signal is actually quite serious. Amazing. Albeit the sign is a long way from being evidence of presence of extraterrestrial creatures all alone, it actually stays a significant finding. Shroud of Turin. The cover of Turin is a material texture with a front and back outline of a hairy man who was supposedly enveloped by Jesus after he was brought down from the cross. It was first shown in France during the 1350s. It was brought to Italy in 1578 and began to be protected in the House of God of San Giovanni Battista in Turin. While many accepted it marvelously worked out, doubters thought it was a cheat. In 1988, a piece of the cover was exposed to carbon-14 dating testing and it was resolved that the cover was produced using 700-year-old flax plants. Despite the fact that it became undesirable when not entirely set in stone to date between 1260 to 1390, the texture actually keeps up with its worth in strict circles. Alien photo posted by Farmer. German paper-built distributed a photograph of a little outsider tracked down by a rancher in Mexico in May 2007. It was said that the resident who found this fascinating animal promptly muffled it in a well of dread. At this point unclear whether the intriguing animal caused the episode is actually an outsider or a cover made up to conceal the homicide. DNA tests uncovered that the animal's bones looked like human joints, its skeletal framework looked like a reptile's, and that the animal didn't have tooth-like organs like people. Researchers said that the animal was an astute being. In the distributed report, it was expressed that the area where the animal was found was regularly visited by UFOs and that there were many flattened crops. It was additionally suggested that this child outsider was deliberately abandoned by extraterrestrials. Alien attack. In June 1947, a Dutch-hailed transport sent 2 trouble calls with a crisis code off the shore of Sumatra. The main call said, "Everybody, including the skipper, is dead," and the subsequent call, which followed right away, contained the message "I'm biting the dust." A boat that got the calls quickly went to help. At the point when Orang Medan was reached, the whole team, remembering the canine for board, were seen as dead, with their hands pointing toward the sun and an appearance of dread on their countenances. The secret of the boat, which before long sank into the waters with a blast, keeps on existing even today. The justification for this chilling occurrence is the gas spilling from the natural weapon they convey, the outsider assault, and so on. There are hypotheses that it is Roswell episode. The episode that occurred in 1947 keeps on being discussed even years after the fact. Onlookers are as yet approaching and new records are being introduced. Obviously, as with each UFO occurrence, there are the individuals who contend that this episode is phony. How about we take a gander at the charges made and choose for yourself? A UFO flying close to the town of Roswell, New Mexico, USA, crashed on July 4, 1947. There was a tactical office close to this region and the UFO garbage was taken to this office alongside 4 outsiders, 3 dead and 1 harmed. Years after the fact, pictures purportedly having a place with the dissection performed on outsiders would arise and the occurrence would come to the front once more. What made the Roswell episode so renowned was that it was first acknowledged by the specialists and afterward denied. This demeanor of the specialists further expanded the question marks to individuals. The quantity of observers was very high, however the onlookers were compromised not to talk. Walter Hote, who passed on as Kid in 2008 and was an advertising official at that point, said in the letter he wrote to be opened after his demise that a considerable lot of the innovations that the U.S. Armed Force had were gotten after this mishap.